I
Thank
just
you
want
for
to say,
being here.
yeah, thank you for holding the mic. Thank you for
Champ.
being.
Champ.
Just want to say thank you for being here. So I have a question. As a Latino in this country, kind of want to ask your opinion on white privilege, because
Sure.
I think I saw something on Facebook. Someone shared like a video or a picture, and I kind of want to just get your views on it, if you could, please.
Awesome. White privilege is racist. White privilege is a lie, and it is a myth.
Could you elaborate?
Happy to. White privilege is racist. Let's go through it. As soon as you begin to categorize certain individuals based on skin color, that in of an essence is racism. It is. If you say, oh, you're privileged because of your skin color, are you kidding me? I mean, you don't know about my background or my upbringing. All of a sudden you're generalizing an entire group of people just based on their skin color. That is racism. The definition of racism is putting a specific definition onto a group of people based on their skin color, a prejudice just based on their skin color. That is racism, whether it's a good prejudice or a bad prejudice. That is racism. Is it a lie? Absolutely it's a lie. Now, have Caucasian Americans generally done better over the last, 100 years? Yeah, that's correct. But there's also other communities that have done much better. Asian Americans, for example. I never hear about Asian American privilege. Asian Americans are the wealthiest, most productive, least likely to commit crimes members of the American community. Where's their privilege? Is their privilege based in skin color? Absolutely not. There's privilege based in making good choices. When you make good choices, those choices are rewarded. Asian Americans entered mostly in the 1940s and 50s fleeing communism and Marxism. By doing so, they came into the American community widely discriminated against. In fact, if you ask your grandparents what they think of people from Asia, they won't say very nice things, especially your great-grandparents if they're still alive. They made very good choices. They did the three things you need to do to stay out of poverty in America, according to Ben Shapiro, which is you got to graduate high school, get a job, and get married before you have kids. And over the last 60, 70 years, they are by far the richest group that you can point to based on race in America, by far. So here's the perplexing thing, is that I said it's racist and it's a lie. What else did I say about it? I said something else. It's very divisive, extraordinarily divisive. Because if you're going to start to categorize people just based on their skin color, then they're nothing more than that racial group. They're not an individual. It's not saying that you could rise above your circumstance. It's not saying you can make good choices. It's not saying that, oh, you might have been born behind and you can get ahead. We want to talk about white privilege. Here's a good question, and anyone who here believes in it, please step up to the microphone. We can have a discussion. It's a little, I don't think it'll offend anyone, but it might bring someone back. Here's a really good question to ask. Are Jewish people privileged? Are Jewish people white? Anyone? Are Jewish people considered white? Technically they are.
If you consider their history, I would say not.
Oh, they're not white. Then what are they?
They're Semites.
They're
from the Middle East, at least historically speaking.
Okay, so we don't have that as a box to check on the U.S. Census Bureau.
I think there should be.
Okay, so they should be Semites. Okay.
Well, not Semites, but
well, I mean that is the technical definition. But for lack of a better term, they are considered white.
I'm white and I'm Jewish, and I don't think that I'm considered anything but.
Yeah. So let's go to this.
I don't think it's a monolith, though. I mean, I think you can if you identify as white and a Jew, like that's fine. But I know like there are a lot of people who have a lot of connections to, especially like Israel.
Yeah. So but here's the point. Here's the point. The question is, if you categorize them as white, which you don't, most do, did they really have that good of a 20th century? Were they really privileged over the last 100 years? Really?
No.
Yeah, they had an extermination order put up against them in an entire continent. Here's the point, is that if we are going to try to segregate the American populace based on skin color, that is the very definition of everything that we have tried to fight against in this country. Everything. And despite even historical and statistical trends, it just isn't true. There's twice as many white people living in poverty in America than black people. Do they live at a higher rate? Absolutely they do. You talk in aggregate numbers, it doesn't reflect to that. So look, here's the point, is that it is anti-individual, and it is very much this idea of racial group collective that I think is extraordinarily harmful and creates this victimhood mentality that pits one group up against the other, that does not reward what America truly is, which is a place where good choices will eventually be rewarded. Go ahead and say something in response if you want to.
Yeah, just I guess one follow-up question. So you don't think that, specifically regarding the United States, like the crippling, like systematic oppression of like the 60s and before that has like any kind of effect whatsoever on African American communities?
Great question. Okay, I'm glad you asked that. Say it again. So say it again, because I want to.
Do you think that the systematic oppressive laws of the 60s and prior to that have any kind of effect whatsoever on African American communities today?
Sure they did, but didn't the internment camps against Asian Americans in the 40s have something against them? They rose above it, right? So here's the question. Is America more racist today than we were in the 1960s? It's a legitimate question. Can anyone possibly say we're more racist today? No. Then why are blacks worse off today than they were in the 1960s? It's not because we're a more racist country. We're much less racist in every single metric. It's because we've incentivized bad behavior over the last 60 years. Black single motherhood was 18% in 1965. It's now 71%. What happened? Is it because we got to be a more terribly racist country? No. Did we get more racist laws? No, we actually got rid of most of all of them. Civil Rights Act, we got rid of almost every single one. So what happened? It's because we incentivized really, really bad behavior. We said to single mothers, go ahead, have kids, and we'll give you a check every single month. But don't get married. As soon as you get married, you lose the check. We put African Americans in urban areas and housing projects that, again, incentivize bad behavior. And that was the advancement of the American welfare scheme. Also coupled with failing public schools, run mostly by teacher unions that were not properly incentivized to try to get the people out of poverty that were very much in. By every single metric, African Americans are worse off today than they were in the 1960s, with crime, prison rates, single motherhood, employment, wealth capita, everything. And there's only one possible explanation for that. It's not that America got more institutionally racist, not any of that stuff. It's that there was a set of policies put forth by one president and continually supported by entire political party to keep a whole segment of the population poor and routinely voting Democrat. And that's Lyndon Baines Johnson and the American Democrat Party, which I think completely punished it. So if you want to talk about systemic oppression and racism, there's lots of other examples of ethnic groups that went through that too. If that's the card you want to play, it does not couple. Almost every single one except African Americans and Native Americans have not rose above it statistically. And the only thing they have in common is absolute total government interference and involvement in their life. Go, a follow-up question? I appreciate it. Thank you. So anyone disagree?